And bang, we're back.
Bang! We're back, but crypto is not. Oh my God. If you can't joke about it, folks, I guess. On the plus side, though, Monty and CJ, two guys that have been through ups and downs with crypto, even though they don't have gray hair or no hair like me, they have been through ups and downs because crypto has done that a lot. And this is one of the most ugly periods that I've seen, guys, because I'm looking at a Bitcoin 7-day drop of 27% in 7 days, down another 9.7% today. But here's the good news. If you listened to CJ and Monty last week, when we discussed the pending Ethereum bloodletting, which is now known as options expiration, this Friday, then perhaps you saved yourself a little money. Perhaps you were shopping around saying, you know what, rather than jumping in here at 2,600, I'm going to be patient, put in a number like they said, say maybe 2,000, 1,900, whatever, and be patient and wait for it to come in. I'm not going to have FOMO, the fear of missing out. I'm going to take advantage of FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And if you did that, you saved yourself a lot of money. But it still doesn't feel very good when Ethereum's trading 1750, does it, guys?
Yeah, I'm looking at the 24 Bitcoin, or just rather the entire crypto market liquidation charts as a whole. In the past 24 hours, just shy of $1 billion has been lost due to liquidations, 971 million, with a total of about 238,000 traders liquidated in the past 24 hours. So not quite the numbers we saw on our initial drop down to 30, but now that we've broken through, like Monty and I were talking about this earlier in the week, it's like I have to imagine there's a ton of stops at 28 and 27K. And, you know, people who bought that dip have got to be really sweating at this particular point.
Yeah, but CJ, if you think about it, I mean, this is such a different correction than we've seen in the past. And for me, this almost feels like this was inevitable over the last couple of weeks. So if you're a trader that's holding on to a long position with leverage that gets liquidated at 28K, if you were holding that at any point in this last week, I mean, it's your fault if you get liquidated. So I don't expect the liquidation numbers to be that crazy because the market's been kind of trending in this direction. Unlike last time, you know, when we were on the way up, people were entering into the market with levered longs. And then we were seeing incredible liquidations because the market would just move against them so fast. And yeah, this is just such a different, you know, market environment now. And the last month has been pretty tough for Bitcoin and for crypto in general. But I do think we're approaching this, you know, critical point where we're going to start, you know, possibly moving to the upside. I do think that in the interim, like in the next week, we're going to see a lot of volatility between possibly 25K and all the way up to even 32K. But one thing that I think is an interesting possibility is the chance for a dead cat bounce to possibly levels of around 40K. So, you know, one thing that I always look to is kind of the sentiment of crypto Twitter. And it's so funny. It's kind of it's almost the perfect counter indicator in my experience, because when we were on the way up here, you know, everyone was bullish. There was no one like, and the more we move towards this precipice of 64K, the more percentage of people I saw were bullish. Now on the way down, it was kind of the same thing. More people started becoming bearish as we got lower and lower. And now we're hitting a point of like max bearish sentiment. So I think we're approaching a bottom. I think 25K is still in the cards. But once we hit that level, I'm going to start buying, CJ. That's my
prediction. Right now, guys, the fear and greed index is in extreme fear. It is at a reading of 10, which means there's almost nobody out there at all bullish, that they are scared to death, which generally is BTFD, by the friggin' dip. Yesterday was in fear, and it was a 23. We're less than half of that today. Last week, it was 38. Last month, I think the low was 14, guys. So we are through all of the metrics for, what's going to happen next. And a lot of people are anticipating that, 3 days from now, we get the Ethereum options expiration. Depending on how many people have stacked up puts or have levered long in Ethereum, that could be just as ugly. It's already uglier than it was back in March, because in March, we fell about 17%, I think, guys, into the options expiration. We talked last week about this one being about 30% bigger in terms of volume and open interest. And we've already fallen 32% in Ethereum in the last 7 days. So, we're fast approaching a double on the March sell-off for Ethereum in terms of percent. And that's something that people will be probably at least somewhat have to discuss, justify any buys that they put in down here at this point. 1732 is where it's trading right now. Bitcoin is back up to 47% Bitcoin dominance, and Ethereum still hanging in there at 17.2.
Yeah, John, I'm really glad you brought up Bitcoin dominance, because I think that is kind of really dictating this story right now. This is something we've been talking about on this channel for a couple of weeks now, is this sort of reversal formation we've been seeing in the Bitcoin dominance chart. And for me, that makes me, I'm still concerned about ETH finding a bottom. I don't think it's potentially found the bottom yet. And my reason for thinking that is because of what I'm seeing here on this Bitcoin dominance chart. It's showing some, positive price action. I guess you can call it price action, but I still think that given where we're at right now at about 47%, Bitcoin dominance is still relatively underweighted based on what we're seeing currently in the market, with people moving out of risk on assets into more risk off assets like Bitcoin. So I think that Bitcoin dominance could potentially go to 55%. Now, what would that mean for Bitcoin? Not a whole lot. Bitcoin could, hypothetically remain right at 30K while still getting Bitcoin dominance up to 55K. Where I think this is going to come from is from the alts and ETH selling off heavily to a larger extent than we're seeing a sell-off in Bitcoin. We're already seeing that. One other thing I'll leave it with is this 200 period moving average that we've been, talking about for about a month now. ETH is finally below it again. So we're starting to see some parity with its, current price point and the location of the 200 moving average. So take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now significantly below that moving average, making me believe that ETH could, extend far below its 200 period moving average, possibly even retesting this level here of about 1350. So I don't think the bottom is in yet for ETH, just based on what I'm seeing in terms of Bitcoin dominance and in terms of sentiment in the space. So I'm holding off, but I think, in the coming week, we're finally hitting that critical point where we're going to find a bottom and people are going to be ready to buy. So I'm going to be ready for that.
Well, it was good advice a week ago. And anybody that took your advice a week ago, Monty, is richer for it today, even if they're a little bit poorer, because maybe they bought at 2,000 for ETH and it's down $250. Keep in mind, folks, that March, the last expiration that we spoke of last week for Ethereum options, it was bouncing right at 1,600. 1598, 1600 was where Ethereum was, or Ether at that time. We are plumbing right down to that now, right down to that same level. I mean, that crazy round trip from 1600 to, what was our high, guys? 4,400, 4,300 for ETH and that was just to May. So that was April, May, 2 months. And you got up from 1,600 to 4,300. China's in the news. And ultimately, guys, I think that to the extent that Bitcoin and crypto writ large weather this Chinese storm where they're kicking out miners, where they are telling banks you cannot send money to crypto exchanges for your depositors and so forth. If Bitcoin stabilizes and goes up from here, then it's proof that the DeFi side of cryptocurrencies, not all of them are DeFi, of course, but the DeFi side of cryptocurrencies is definitely intact, and that it proves out the case, because even a totalitarian regime with really strong draconian measures that they could put on their populace, if they're not able to stop completely, instead just stall out adoption of Bitcoin, I think that's going to speak volumes for Bitcoin going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that massive loss of hash power is also playing into this sell-off, kind of when miners shut their machines off, they can no longer be profitable. They have to move their machines from China to places like Maryland and all, other places in which they can operate. And we've always seen a very strong relationship between hash power and price. That was another thing that happened before we crashed in the bear market of 2018, when we fell from 6K to 3K. There was a massive decrease in the amount of hash power on the network, which kind of foreshadowed miner sell pressure. So that could be playing into what we're seeing today. I think it is. But yeah, I mean, you're right, John, that China news definitely played an impact.
Well, and maybe you guys have doges of the day, but I'm just going to throw out there that we're not at that Ethereum expiration yet. We're still about $150 above the March low for Ethereum, or maybe not the low, but the March expiration area for Ethereum. Doesn't mean we have to get there, but I still think patience is going to be rewarded here. So I'm not going to throw one out today as far as to dip back in, even though I like, for instance, Monty's Hedera, H-bar and so forth. I just don't want to add yet. I'm a couple days away from adding.
Yep, I'm right there with you, John. That's what I said yesterday as my doge of the day. I'm kind of just being patient, and I'm standing by that today. I think we're going to see for the rest of this week a lot of volatility in, Ethereum and a lot of the altcoins. So I'll be waiting. I'll be ready for some opportunities later in this week. But for now, I'm being patient, letting some of this FUD play out, and I'll be ready to go later in the week.
Cool. Well, remember, guys, you can trade for free when you decide to pull the trigger on a trade over at Voyager Digital. They have remained one of the top 30 apps in the App Store, and you can trade 50 plus digital assets for free over at Voyager, and they'll give you $25 in Bitcoin just for using the code REBEL25. So make sure you check it out.
Yep. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. One last thing I would like to mention is we are doing a crossover webinar, the Crypto Boys versus the Oracle, today at market close. So we're gonna ask him about what he's seen in the current crypto market. We're also gonna talk to him about, possibly buying some Bitcoin short options and how he may have used that to mitigate some loss over the last couple of months. So anyways, that's all we got for today. See you guys back again tomorrow at the same time, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Be patient.